There's a certain kind of presence that doesn't demand the room. It doesn't speak first. It doesn't need to. It simply watches, absorbs, remembers. This is the quiet observer, the one in the corner with the half smile, the one who notices the pause before you lie, the one who sees the flicker of sadness behind your laugh. People assume they're shy, or aloof, or simply there, but the truth is far more complex. The quiet observer isn't silent because they have nothing to say. They're silent because they've learned that most words drown out the truth. Psychologically, this isn't passivity. It's hyperattunement. The brain of a quiet observer is wired differently. Not louder, but deeper. They process micro-expressions in milliseconds. They hear the tremor in your voice before you do. They feel the shift in energy when someone's pretending. This isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition owned by years of watching the world perform. And after a while, speaking feels inefficient. Why interrupt the data stream with noise? But here's the cost. The more you observe, the less you're seen. You become the mirror everyone looks into, but never at. You hold space for other stories, but rarely tell your own. You know their fears, their secrets, their unspoken dreams, and they know nothing of yours. That's the quiet observer's loneliness. Not the absence of people, but the absence of reciprocity. Studies show that chronic observers develop heightened empathic accuracy, the ability to read emotions with near telepathic precision. But empathy without expression is a one-way street. It drains. It isolates. It teaches the brain that your inner world is a liability, so you edit, you minimize, you become the easy friend, the low-maintenance one, the one who never burdens anyone, until one day you realize you've trained the world to forget you exist. There's a term in psychology, the invisible self. It's what happens when you've spent years prioritizing others' emotional clarity over your own. Your needs become background noise, your voice a whisper, your presence a shadow. And the brain adapts. It learns that being unseen is safer than being misunderstood. But here's what's fascinating. The quiet observer often holds the clearest view of reality. They see the cracks in the performance, the unspoken tensions, the moments when kindness is genuine and when it's not. They don't just watch people, they study them, like anthropologists of the human soul. And in that study, they develop something rare, unfiltered insight. Yet insight without connection is a cold companion. So the quiet observer learns to live in two worlds, the one they see, raw, unfiltered, aching, and the one they show, calm, composed, untouchable. They become masters of emotional camouflage, not out of deceit, but out of protection. There's a moment, though, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the observer realizes, I don't just want to see, I want to be seen. And that's where the shift begins. If you're a quiet observer listening to this, pause. Take one breath. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let someone in? Not just to listen, but to know you? It starts small, a single sentence, a vulnerability offered like a fragile seed. I noticed you seemed off today. I've been there. Not as a therapist, not as a savior, but as a human. The psychology is clear. Reciprocal disclosure builds trust. When you reveal, you invite. When you invite, you connect. But for the quiet observer, disclosure feels like stepping onto a stage naked. So start in the dark. Text a friend something real. Leave a voice note. Write the thing you've never said. Do it now, while the feeling is alive. Because here's the paradox. The more you've observed, the more valuable your voice becomes. You're not too quiet. You're strategically silent. And when you do speak, people listen. Not because you're loud, but because you're true. There's a concept called selective self-presentation. It's when you choose when and how to reveal yourself. Not as a performance, but as a gift. The quiet observer excels at this. They don't overshare, they undershare with intention. And when they finally open the door, it's not a flood, it's a key. Try this tonight. Pick one person, send them a message that starts with I've been thinking. No agenda, no apology, just truth. Watch what happens. Loneliness for the quiet observer isn't about being alone, it's about being unmirrored. You've reflected everyone else for so long. You've forgotten what your own light looks like. But light doesn't need an audience to exist, it just needs space to shine. And connection? It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the truest. The quiet observer often fears that if they speak, they'll shatter the peace. But peace built on silence isn't peace. It's containment. So speak. not to fill the air, but to free it. One sentence, one truth, one risk. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more depth. And you? You've been carrying it in silence for years. There will come a day when someone looks at you, not through you, and says, "I always wondered what you were thinking, and now I'm glad I asked." And in that moment, the observer becomes the observed. Not as a spectacle, but as a soul. Until then, keep watching, keep listening, keep feeling, but don't forget, the quietest voice in the room often holds the loudest truth, and the world, it's waiting to hear it. So start now. One message, one truth, one step out of the shadows, because the psychology of the quiet observer isn't a curse, it's a calling. And your voice, it's been quiet long enough. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it.